Welcome to another episode of Stay Paid. I'm Joshua Stike along with Luke Acree, and our guest today is Brad McDaniel, and we have kind of a cool backstory with him. We actually, you met his brother on his podcast. Yeah. Now he's coming on our podcast
Small
to
world.
talk about what everyone really wants to know, which is, especially in the real estate world, and I think we're going to get into this podcast about how this can apply to so many different industries, but it's kind of predicting outcomes, predicting behavior of potential clients.
Yeah, he's applied. I mean, this guy obviously has a huge background in AI and machine learning and predictive analytics. And his company, you'll learn all about it, but he's predicting transactions right now within real estate, but he has for insurance, mortgage, real estate agents are using his program right now. Really, really interesting stuff.
And he makes it easy on us from the standpoint of he uses some great analogies so that we don't get
There's a great story in there about Target
of the data. So he'll be coming on in just a second. But first, before we bring him on, wanted to read some of the YouTube comments from our most recent podcast. Well, most recent in terms of when we're recording this one, not when this one will be released, but with Lee Brown. So immediately we had some great comments from this one. Don Harris says, great content and advice from Lee. Well worth the time I spent to listen. Darlene says, our first magazine, so the American Lifestyle, is going out in a couple weeks. Love getting the golden nuggets from Lee Brown. Great podcast. And then Brian says, worth listening to even if you're not a realtor. The life lessons and tips are fantastic, and you will laugh a lot too. So if you haven't had a chance to check out her podcast, it's episode 263. We really did have a lot of fun with Lee. All right. And if you want to leave us a comment on the podcast, you can head on over to our YouTube page. It is youtube.com/ReminderMedia. We have all of our podcasts there, as well as staypaidpodcast.com. But now let's get into this week's interview.
From Reminder Media, this is Stay Paid, a sales and marketing podcast on a mission to help you close more deals and retain more business. Hosted by the VP of Marketing, Josh Stike, and Reminder Media's president, Luke Acree. So get ready to hear the golden nuggets that will allow you to live a life of freedom tomorrow, but only if you take action today.
Our guest today is Brad McDaniel. He's an entrepreneur and technologist with over 15 years of experience in real estate, prop tech, and fintech with an emphasis in product development, sales, and business leadership. Brad founded Real Agile in 2007, and his most recent startup, which we'll talk about today, is likely.ai, which he's building to be the premier prop tech artificial intelligence partner for the residential real estate ecosystem. Brad, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thank you very much. That was a mouthful, man. Thank you very much for introducing me so nicely.
I mean, a lot of smart words in there.
I was actually thinking the same thing. I was like, man, that was smooth. Nice intro.
Yeah,
man. I mean, Josh has the harder job where he has to intro the people in, so the people's names and their background. I'm just like, I'm so glad that's Josh's job. Hey, man, we
have an easy name.
We are excited to interview you. Obviously, we got connected through Instagram for people listening. We got connected through one of our previous guests, Shadi Bazzi. So if you guys haven't listened to his episode, he's a stud real estate coach. He was a great real estate agent himself, but he connected Brad and I and said, you've got to interview this person because they're doing some big things within the real estate space. So I'm excited today to talk about, predictive analytics and being able to predict who might be a good candidate for your business, especially because even our business, give a little background to the audience, our business uses some of this tech now. We partner with another company. So I'm really, excited to kind of hear your take. But I would love for you to share a little bit about yourself, like your entrepreneurial journey. You've been a part of multiple startups and what's gotten you up to where you're at today, if you wouldn't mind sharing some background there.
Yeah. It goes all the way back to, I went to college at TCU, came out, and the real estate market was red hot in 05, 06. And it was like taking orders. And so I, like any normal marketing person, I'm like, all right, I'm going to go right into a sales side of business because I'm out of college and I know how to do marketing. As the market went to, south, kind of as we saw, kind of put my marketing hat on and said, how do I really do this well? And man, it was all just blanket carpet bomb everything. And I was like, there's got to be a better way. I mean, someone had to have invented, a way to target your marketing better than this. And there hadn't been. There was no prior art. No one else had filed any patents or anything like that. So I founded Real Agile, co-founded Real Agile. We thought the name was awesome, but no one could remember it. Real estate developers thought that it was like the agile development cycle. And I'm like, well, that sucks. But the technology we're trying to build, was valid. And it was bringing, really machine learning, kind of modeling, early stages of that in. But it was a different time. AWS didn't really exist with GPUs cost effectively available. Data scientists were graduate students. It wasn't really an industry yet. If you had a CRM, you were really rocking it in the high tech back then. So, with that kind of being a frame, go forward, I found out that the business model and, trying to apply predictive analytics and quote AI, early AI, we were on the bleeding edge of innovation. And so the CTO market leader, recruited me to come up there. So, he's like, man, this company needs some fresh blood. So again, I get the entrepreneur side going again. After that, I was kind of front lines of when we acquired realestate.com and then Truly acquired us. And so I was running kind of all these projects, and that was a front row seat to see what the portals did really well and what they didn't. And from there, when I left and I recruited down to Austin, and that's where I'm now, I saw that there was really a need when I was at a conference, and one of the Inman conferences in New York, everyone was talking about AI and big data, but they were misusing every term in a way that it was just grossly disgusting. And I'm like, I have a patent here from 2013 of predicting future events. I'm watching these other companies infringe on it and kind of basically do wrong by it because the tech's solid, but the way it's been applied in the industry has just been kind of, for naught, right? It's really marketing automation platforms that just wanted marketing. And so they stuck AI on the side of their packaging off of the went. I got frustrated with it, watched as people actually wanting it. I said, okay, great. The industry's finally ready for it. The technology is mature, so this tech stack can actually deliver. The time's now. And so I broke away from the company I was with at the time and founded likely.ai. And our mission really is to be that intelligence as a service business. Kind of the hub and spoke. So we can give you the intelligence, use whatever marketing platform or CRM or, the way that your brand connects with your audience and do it so you don't have to rely on the real estate portals of the world who don't have your best interest as an agent, lender, investor at heart. They're there to grow market share, to grow revenue quarter over quarter, and they're going to do it in ways that are not always beneficial to you, and in a lot of ways, not competitive to you. So, that's what led me to go, rather than investing in landing pages and trying to play that game, there's just going to be this need for top of funnel. And we believe we can do it better with AI and then partner with these great MarTech platforms that are out there in order to fulfill the need within the market.
So explain predictive analytics then for everyone who's listening, because and people's expectations of what predictive analytics mean. So what data are you looking at? What is that actually then telling you? And what should you expect from an accuracy standpoint?
Yeah. Can I tell a little story that I think it's a little more entertaining to say it this way?
Yeah, absolutely.
Please.
No one people like glaze.
Because every time we talk about it, we get similar responses. So yeah, please.
You guys probably know this story because you guys are in the marketing business and side of the world, but a lot of people don't know the Target story. I think it really well illustrates what we do and why we do it. So the way the story goes is kind of go back 10 years before smartphones were prolific and everything else. And this man comes into a Target store irate because his underage daughter has been getting a lot of advertising about pregnancy things. And he's like, basically berates the manager. Like, why are you sending my underage daughter these things? Right. And hat in hand, I don't know. I'm so sorry. Right. Guy leaves, comes back a couple of weeks later after having an honest conversation with his daughter. He goes, I'm so sorry. She's pregnant. And it was like it hit the father in the face so hard because how does Target know that my daughter's pregnant before I know she's pregnant? And it really comes back to people. Oh, wow. It's magic. It's mystical. It's all these things. People are listening on smart speakers and all this stuff. And it's not, it's math. It's pattern recognition. And so what they found is that within the first 20 weeks of being pregnant, women bought large amounts of zinc, magnesium, and calcium, right? And at the beginning of the second trimester, they bought large quantities of unscented lotions. Now, after I said it, you go, of course, yeah, that's what my wife did. That makes sense. But it's just pattern recognition, right? When they type in the little code at the store to get the 10% discount or whatever, they're tracking everything, right? We all do it at all the different stores. And so they were able to do this kind of ahead of time because they had this relatively clean data set, right? What we do, and the difference is that we have to go from 3,142 different real estate municipalities to get the accessory recorder, ABM, pre-foreclosure, open lien. We have to then source 300 million demographic files with a couple of, we have 418 data points in each property, and then tie it all together without someone typing in a code and keep it current in order to basically find people that are pregnant, right? In this case, rather than being pregnant, desire to sell a home. And so predictive analytics, really artificial intelligence, people give it more credit than it is. Like, it is getting smart, but it's not as smart as you think. It's really good at certain things like classification, natural language processing, pattern recognition, but it's not going to take over the world. It's a great asset if you leverage for your benefit. Now, it costs a lot to do, which is why there's all these companies that are trying to do it, but then kind of veer off because of the expense associated. Because you have to have all these servers, all this data, all these data scientists focused on one thing, and you can't monetize it well, then it's all for naught. So, that is what I think. One thing that the biggest misconception in the industry is that, artificial intelligence is going to take away my job. I don't think it is. I think that we can actually leverage it to save a lot of agents' jobs by making them a lot more efficient at what they do. Simple as that.
So iRobot's not going to happen? I was hoping iRobot's going to happen.
Well, what is this?
Maybe now. So now you're talking about deep learning, right? So deep learning is that black box stuff, the driverless car.
Yeah.
And we used deep learning before. It's what really AI is. Within real estate, it's hard to leverage because you need a large quantity of what they call targets. So it's like labeled data sets. This did that. This did that.
Okay.
We want to target that one over there, right? And it's hard to get a large quantity of labeled data sets, especially when you have a highly unbalanced classification problem. What does that mean, non-geek speak? Only about 5% of people want to sell their homes every year, and 95% of people don't. So it's very imbalanced between the two. Anytime you have over 5% difference between classifications like that, it makes it much more complicated for the modeling that you use to solve the problem.
How are you, what data points are you looking at? And is that getting more and more difficult with all of these issues that the marketing world is being challenged with when it comes to
privacy?
It's good for the user, right? We talked about this on a podcast we just recorded, blanking on the interview. It was, I'm not going to get it.
I'm like, what are we?
Curator.
Oh, Jimmy Mackin.
Jimmy Mackin. So we talked about it with Jimmy a little bit, this idea that, Apple is now kind of aggressively going after companies tracking your behavior. How is that impacting you guys?
It's not at all. And the reason why is because, go back 4 years, I was worried about online intent signal is what you're talking about, which is cookie-based mostly. I was worried that was going to be a single point of failure if I built a business that relied on it. Right. So we said, let's build it the other way, then sprinkle that in. And that way, if and when someone at one of these major tech firms decides that we don't want to share this stuff anymore in some way or somehow, we will not fail as a business.
Wow.
So it has almost had zero impact on our modeling. Actually, it has had zero impact on our modeling. As far as the execution of our clients, it's made their Facebook custom audiences less effective. Because from what we understand, I think they inflate their audience up, especially in the special ad category. So that way you're really not just targeting that special, that custom audience anymore, which, is a little bit counter to what we're trying to do, but that's the effect of what's happening.
Go ahead.
I was actually going to ask, just from the actual data standpoint, so the audience can understand. And specifically, you guys are working in real estate heavily right now, but are you branching off to other industries or?
Yeah. So the way we built our pipeline, when someone says pipeline, they actually do, machine learning of some kind. We kind of made it modular. So we use data basically real estate data, demographic data, macro market data, and then active market data, right? Or what's actually on the market. So very different classifications of the data. And because we're at that intersection, the reason why we got into real estate, we love the space, know the people, saw there's a need, but also because the transaction of a home is like this collision of all these massive industries and all this value is created from doing that. And to date, the best way to do that is to put up a page of what's my house worth, right? And it didn't seem very efficient because real estate portals have really done a great job with the buy side, right? Real estate portals, pictures, people love that stuff.
Yep.
But their search patterns are different. That you can't use PPC in the same way because no one searches this in the neighborhood, right? And so knowing these things, you go, how do I target these people effectively? Well, you have to have an audience of people in motion, in a moment of change. And I'm sorry, I can talk on this stuff because I really love helping agents and lenders and investors kind of solve this pain point. But the types of data you asked me about, I think I've answered that pretty clearly. And if you want me to go deeper on that, happy to. As far as for the ancillary industries, we do have people that are kind of in the broader spectrum of the real estate ecosystem, leveraging the intelligence, because the way we deliver it and the fact that it's that collision point, people go, man, I really want that. I mean, a lender, I want to get people that are pre-approved to buy the next home before they list, because everyone dog piles on it once they're on the market. Where agents want to be able to help people on that journey. I mean, even go down to like self-storage units and home services and all the way down to Papa John's Pizza, right? I mean, once you put your house in the market, right before you put your house in the market, you don't want to get your kitchen dirty, right? So there's all these points when like all these industries leverage from that. Yeah.
Yeah. That's, I never thought about the pizza thing. That's actually super smart. But how, like, cause my initial question in all of this is like, so the way I kind of look at it and understand it from the simple terms is, okay, you guys are looking at property information data, demographic information on the person, purchasing information that they've done, things like that. You're trying to then make correlations or look at patterns and go, houses that have sold, they tend to have these type of patterns happen before. And so you're looking for those same type of patterns and correlations in the data. What is your time frame that you put out there for people who, you know, like let's say I purchased, I don't know if it's a zip code with you guys or whatever. What type of time frames do you see? Is it 6 months, 12 months, 14 months? Like what type of time frames do you see for the accuracy of what you're predicting?
Great question. And that's one of the things with predictive analytics in a generic term I've never really liked from a productization standpoint is that, hey, pay me today for something that might happen 12 months from now. Mm-hmm. It's like, what? That just doesn't make sense. Yeah. So when we went out to solve this, we said, we have to find signal that's more in the near term. We've been able to find signal that's within the next 90 days, about 1 in 10 of our predict list. And then within the next 180 days, up to 1 in 3, 1 in 4 list. So a high precision, meaning accuracy, within the data that we found. We're in 1,000+ counties. So pretty much all the top markets is a couple of holes because we need all the right data to be able to do it. Like we don't have that target code, right?
Okay.
And so it does take from one of the kind of loopholes that people always get like confused about is how accurate and what does that actually mean compared to what I do within my current business if I buy leads online or whatever else I do. And so one of the ways for us to benchmark that is how much better than the market turnover are we, right? Prediction turnover is this, market turnover is that. So how much better are we than that? On average, we are a couple 100% better. In most cases, we're well north of that. So it gives you a great audience from a marketing standpoint. So I think of it like an online audience. It's a really engaged audience and change. Like one of our beta users commented this way, that it's like you found people that are driving down the road and they're starting to notice those for sale signs and the name on the for sale sign, kind of thinking about, what could I do? Or walking into a cafe and picking up the newspaper and thinking, okay, what's going on in the market? But they're not out there filling on lead forms and everything quite yet. They're in that transitional period where, a lender, an investor, a realtor, they can come alongside that, hey, can I offer you something of value rather than transactional, which is where a lot of people end up.
No, it's brilliant. I mean, and also, for the real estate industry, for those that don't know, I'm not sure the exact stat. I think it's 72% choose the first agent that they interview. Yeah. So being first is like the utmost importance. Like if you're taking away something, it's like you're going to get them into the home first, or you're going to get them to be able to make that phone call first to that potential listing. And 72% of the time, they choose the first agent they interview. So it makes all the difference.
Well, talk about that then, because kind of shifting into once you have the data. So let's say the data's good. You're able to predict 1 in 10 for people that are likely to move within 90 days, 1 in 3 for people with that 180 days. What are you doing with the data or seeing your clients effectively use it? Because you can't call people up and say, hey, I see you're on this list of people that are likely to move. You could probably get some creeped out responses there. So how are your clients using the data from a marketing perspective to then warm those leads up organically?
Yeah, so we don't want to have fathers being upset coming into the real estate office, right? And so Target got smart and started mixing it in with other ads. Still sent them those, but kind of packaged it with other things to kind of blend it in. What we find is there's 2 ways that our clients use our product. They're looking to expand their market or into a new market, cost effectively. Then they take one of our products that we call Likely Seller Accounting License, right? Where they get all the predictions within the county updated monthly on a subscription basis. Along that journey, we got a lot of requests of, hey, I get all my business, from my database. I want to be able to harness this better. How do I do it more efficiently? So we built something we call the database refresh, which allows you to drag and drop a set of addresses you care about, whether it's, your kid's sports team, past clients, old online leads, whatever it is that matters to you. And then we do the rest. And you can hit a button where it says, give me a free report. So we don't want to bill you anything unless the results of the report are locked solid with what is in line with your business. So we tell you how many legit addresses, how much, GCI has been in the last 9 months, basically how many properties are sold the last 9 months, and then how many we predict will be in the next 6 months.
That's awesome.
And we'll give you a gross commission income potential. If that report looks good, then, hey, we'd love to work with you and service you. But in no way that, we built that to kind of try to con people. Because I felt like there's a lot of people that were just selling garbage, and it upset me. Especially when you look at the trends in the market right now. And one of the things that kind of led us to take that route actively was what's happening with the productivity level of agents, back in 2020, and kind of looking at the next gen brokerages versus existing brokerages, and then who could come next and how that could affect the industry as a whole, right? So, if you look at, I pulled a couple of random stats of like Redfin versus Compass EXP, kind of some of those players that are in the top trend areas, right? Redfin did a great job. They're very 42 transactions per agent. That's a high number compared to 6 and 7 for EXP and Compass. And one of the big things that stood out to me was the volume of unique monthly visitors that their site got, right? They're getting roughly 85 million, unique monthly visitors, which drastically dwarfs any other brokerage site out there, right? The only other player that's in that ballgame is Zillow. And it's because they have all the different, assets everywhere. And, I acknowledge that. And I don't want to put them as a bad guy, but let's just say that something does happen in the issue with Zillow or someone else. If that company right now, it'd be Zillow, can be as productive as Redfin, and they just decided to either stand up agents overnight or anoint agents in each market or whatnot, and they were able to be as productive on a percentage of unique visitors a month, their agents would do 149 sites per year. Right?
Zillow agents?
If there was a direct correlation between unique
traffic
visitors,
and wow.
Yeah. So they would do 149 sites. And what would that do to the industry, right? We'd only need 43,000 agents to handle 6.4 million transactions. And right now we have 1.4 million agents. So whoops, it goes 97% of the industry, right? And so how do we give agents a chance? I grew up in the industry. I remember doing the trifold and stuff with my dad, watching blockbuster movies on Friday night with my brother Greg.
Right.
You mentioned on the other podcast. We get to choose who gets to pick the VHS, and then we'd have that tray of letters that we're doing a trifold and stuff, thinking it was great, but it's just because there's so much work for agents to do, right? And so how do we help agents do it better? That's what came with the database audit. We strongly believe that within their database or lists of files of vast leads or whatever, there's a lot of gold nuggets. It's just hard to work with that. I mean, agents are great at real estate.
Yep.
They love to be belly to belly, getting those transactions, explaining the market. Then no one loves to do data, right? Besides us. So, how do we help them make sure that they can take a hedge against some event that some company decides that they're going to have all this traffic, and they just, we have a retail side, we have an investor side. We're going to take all the traffic that we generate and send it to one of these two channels. And sorry, everyone else, go home, have a good night, Get back to whatever you like to go do. What they can do, what I love about some of the stuff you guys do is there's a lot of synergy here, is that they know how companies like you guys have amazing content to be able to distribute and get that engagement component with it. Like I think you have the 3 E's of content marketing, which I absolutely love, Luke.
Yep.
And knowing who to apply that to is all we're trying to do, is help them be efficient.
No, I love that, man. And I loved how you used the word golden nugget. There are golden nuggets in your database, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't know, Brad, I used the golden nugget term as the term to pull out good things in the interview. But that is the true golden nugget. There are literally in your database right now people who are looking for your services that need you. But the agent, unfortunately, it's like what you said, and it applies to almost every industry. Josh and I have now been in 140 different industries. And it applies to almost every industry. You are just doing your business and you don't realize that, man, I just need to be reaching out. And we saw this for our own business, is that agents want to, they just don't know who to contact. And then they say, okay, here's who to contact. They just don't know how. They don't know what to send them. And that's obviously where we step in to try to help them and try to make them more effective. I want to get your personal opinion, because you mentioned the Zillow thing, and it's something that's been really, really obviously on the top of everybody's mind in the industry. So Zillow becomes a brokerage. Do you think that's where Zillow's headed? Like your prediction for the industry? Do you think real estate is going to be shrinking in terms of the number of agents because it's going to become corporatized, if that makes sense?
I think that different segments of the market will gravitate towards those directions, right? I mean, if you look at a certain market, you have the iBuyers, right? Price point really specific in some geographic locations. The flat fee brokerages, that's going to be a slightly higher price point, but it's not going to be top tier. When you look at the kind of the all-in-ones like the Zillows, yeah, I think that there is going to be a consolidation. I mean, the one thing that we've seen is that every time that any one of these companies have said they're not going to do something, they end up doing it, even though when all the agents are, oh no, they're going to do it.
Note to self, everybody.
They're definitely not going to do it. I think they're going to do it. And what do they end up doing it? So if we take that as, okay, they're probably going to continue that pattern, then it's only logical to think that there's a high probability that does happen. And if that does happen, right, whether it's them or maybe it's another company that's starting to acquire a lot of little businesses that now piece something together that gets really big overnight, right? Is a way to hedge your bet against that, right? Make sure that you're not reliant. Learn how to, build the database as an asset. Like take some lessons from the insurance industry. Don't just, kind of lip service your database, but like service it. Make sure it's clean. Make sure it's up to date. Make sure you're in connection with it. Make sure you have a relationship with it. Like build an asset, right? 2 would be then to get, real personal with it. I love the Ford, analogy of, kind of how you have those conversations. And I'm sure you guys have great content that probably ties in better than that. But just striking an actual relationship with them is something that one of our clients in New Jersey, who's an OP, he was sending out these invitation cards. Man, people started calling him nonstop against likely sellers and go, of course we're going to come with you. You sent us 6 of those nice cards, not cards, but letters. And they said letters, right? And that was like whoa, okay, you struck a relationship component. You weren't spamming me with, I don't know, Facebook ads or something, right? It was like there was something personal. And you can do that in a lot of different ways. But I think those are 2 things that you have to be able to do to make sure that you get, in front of the click, right? You get to them, be that person that they want to talk to before they go and ask a stranger and take the first person that responds to them and goes, okay, they know more than me. They probably don't, but they think they do, right? And so build those relationships off of an asset.
It's super well said. I think there's 2 things, like if you want to survive the transitions that always happen, I think the 2 things you have to focus on, one is the relationship. I think that the person who owns the relationship is going to win. People pay more for relationships. And I think the second piece of it is the trust aspect of being the SME, the subject matter expert. I think Tom Ferry calls it the trust broker or something like that, or the agent of trust from that standpoint, is you've got to be the one where anytime there's a service that comes in, whether it's driven by tech or driven by the masses, right? And you're like, wow, this person, because they're part of this huge conglomerate and they have all these resources, you really go, they know what they're doing. it takes another level of credibility to win over the prospect from those businesses that have all the resources. Like I'll give an example in the financial industry of, are you going to go with the Merrill Lynch advisor or the advisor on Main Street that's not part of like a Merrill Lynch or a Morgan Stanley? And this is if you're a Merrill Lynch advisor or Morgan Stanley advisor listening to this, I'm not knocking you guys by any means, but here's what I'm saying is that the only way you choose this Main Street advisor is if you have a personal relationship, which was the first one I said, or this Main Street advisor has shown you that they have insights to their expertise that is even more personalized and knowledge-wise than the Merrill Street who's just getting the run-of-the-mill standard as you would think about it. And so I'm not sure if that's making sense to the audience, but it's a really, really thing you have to hone in on and going, it's why even the biggest, most talented firms a lot of times are these like really independent firms, really small because they're specialized. Like this is the one thing I do extremely well. I know it better than anybody. Yeah, you can go with a big company, but they're doing everything for everybody. This is the one thing I do. So those are like, if you want to survive, if Zillow turns into a brokerage, so be it. They're going to get a lot of the business. So how are you going to beat them? You either have the relationship or you showcase that Zillow treats everybody the same. I treat people different because I specialize.
That perfectly said. And I mean, I think that would definitely connect with most people. And if it doesn't, then think about it like SEO, right? I mean, like everyone talks about long tail, and don't say condos in, Portland, say condos with hardwood floors with dog parks next to the river. Like, I mean, speak to your audience.
Smart.
Niche down almost, right? I mean, like find that piece and then just apply that to how you communicate with your database. Connect with them.
Yep. No, so well said. Well, talk to me a little bit about, obviously you have this company, Likely AI. There's other companies out there. This is probably a selfish question for me because, I've been in the industry a little bit. Is how do you guys compete to these other companies that are offering a similar thing? Well, is there a unique value differentiator? Is it come down to the models and the predictability? A little bit of our pet peeve, Josh and I, is like we offer a free type of service to our clients. And the reason why we chose to give it away for free with our products is because it was like we didn't want to sell something that we truly couldn't. It's like you said, I don't want to sell something where it's like it might come true 12 months from now, right? Type idea. But I wanted to offer that value to our clients. I wanted to give it to them as a way to go, hey, I want to try to help you. So how do you compete in the arena of the data providers?
Yeah, great question. So, I mean, I think from like a category perspective, it's really three things. First is our precision. I mean, if you ask any one of the other providers, anyone who's listening to this, ask them how much better they are than random, right? Ask them what the precision is and see what they say. Every time any one of our clients ask it, they come back and they buy immediately because we are very transparent. Like that's what we base on. We have a group of data scientists that only think about how do I make the precision better every single day, right? And they try all kinds of stuff, right? One week, hey, I'm gonna try weather patterns and see how that changes. Let's put disaster zones in. You name it. Like we tried it, deep learning, machine learning, mosaics, everything. And so with us taking that angle on the market going, okay, there's a red ocean down here. There's a blue ocean up top of someone going to actually bring this tech to the market because everyone wants to leverage, either their contacts or their content more efficiently. We need to actually deliver on that and not be the automation platform. There's a lot of them and a lot of reasons why people pick different ones. So don't compete there, right? Become that in the hub and spoke model, be the intelligence hub that then allows people to be able to push it and use it wherever they want. So that's the first thing, kind of free the data. The first one's the precision. The second one is that we kind of free the data. We don't make you use what we have. We actually encourage you. And the way our system is designed is to let you pick it wherever you want to use it. And we're always looking to reduce our friction to allow them to do that even more efficiently. But that's kind of one of the underlying beliefs that we have. The third thing is that we have a patent for it. And so back in 2013, we got a patent for predicting future events in real estate from work I did in 2007. I watched all these other guys infringe upon it. Yeah. And so I've watched all these other companies infringe upon it. And so whenever we look at hiring another data scientist team, we kind of do this, data science interview, right? And one of the companies we almost just hired someone from that just got acquired for a nice amount of money from a company on the East Coast. we were talking about what they do for the models. He's like, oh, we use AI. I'm like, oh, that's cool. A lot of people say that. What do you guys do? And they were talking, they have a 12-month lookalike model that basically delivers very low precision, but allows them to talk about having AI. And kind of what's the difference between that and us? We build one model for every single county. So we have 3,142 models. Actually, we have dozens in each county that are running on both our R&D and our production pipeline. We see which one works the best, and then we test them side by side, real-time market. If it does continue to outperform, then we lock it into the next production. Each month, we retrain the score of all of the models and re-deliver the predictions to clients. So we put a large amount of our investment in the precision of marketing, in the precision of the predictions. And the reality is when you're in the lab and you're training models, and you can get some like 99, 98%, basically right below what's overfitting and it's garbage. But like you can really get some good models. But in real estate, the data is so dirty and fragmented. It takes a lot of work. Someone even told us we have a separate business if we wanted of just the normalization layer that we do between raw data and making a model ready. So that's one of the things that rather than investing in the MarTech side, we said, let's partner with great companies to do that. And we'll be the data provider. We're going to be that intelligence provider, right? We don't want to give raw data. We don't want to do things that anyone else can do. We want to do things that are interesting, that provide real value, that, don't solve yesterday's problem, but solve the problem that we know that they're having today and what's coming tomorrow.
I love that, man. No, that's awesome. So like when you look at like your company and the future of your organization, like where are you guys headed? Are you trying to grow this to be a data company that partners in 100+ verticals? Are you trying to grow it to be, hey, once I capitalize on the data, then I can add on the ancillary products? Like what's you guys' long-term vision?
That's a great question. And it's internal debate, kind of what path people go down. I think we probably have a couple months before we have to make that decision. Right now, I'd have to say that I'm leaning strongly towards the data side, even though I'm a marketer, man. I love marketing. Man. My degree was in marketing. I love marketing and I want to do that stuff. But there's great companies like your guys' company that, man, why compete? There's not a strong reason, especially as our clients keep coming back with great stories from these different companies. We just find who they are and then connect with them, right? And kind of create like a reciprocity thing with them. And so where I think long-term value is being able to organize all the semi-structured, unstructured data and be able to deliver intelligence back in a way that Homer Simpson can do it. As far as like understanding our data.
That's a golden nugget.
That
struck my heart right there. The way that Homer Simpson, even Homer can do it.
Yeah.
So like when you look obviously at your data and obviously you're trying to predict who's going to move, do you think we're going to get to a place in time where we will know at a really high degree, like that's going to be the main way people get their leads within real estate? Do you think like the tech is going to get that good, or the data, I should say, is going to get that good to where everything's going to be predicted?
I would say if you had data sources, then yes, we could.
So it's really the collection of the data that's the problem.
It's very, very segmented, very much like the rest of the industry, because it's often these 3,142 silos that are run by government agencies.
Right.
So they're highly efficient. And so you never know how
we have similar views on that. Highly efficient.
Yes. Yeah. Very, very efficient. And then when you look at the demographic layer, I mean, what you can purchase from a third party is surveyed. It's somewhat modeled. It's dirty. It's not 100% accurate, no matter who you get it from. And so the source that would have been the best, but because of all of the litigation going on and because of 2016 and Analytica, Cambridge Analytica, and all that, like Facebook, from a demographic, what's going on in my life, that is where that type of data lives. And so if Facebook wanted to get into that business, then there could be some really good predictions coming out of Facebook. I highly doubt they will, because they'll get sued to oblivion for violating so many different statutes almost immediately, because lawyers can make money doing it. So I think that precision and predictions will get better. I don't think they're ever going to be 100% certain, because just like every agent that's listening to this knows, you pretty much have to have a psychology degree to sell a house, right? And my dad has told me since I was little, going, I feel like I'm more of a psychologist than anything else.
100%. Yep.
Right. I mean, like, even when you have someone that says they want to sell their home and they want to do this, there could be 1,000 things that can blow that up that you have to work through. Right. And so predicting intent and actual, causation, versus, how do I want to say this? Predicting intent can get better and better, right? Predicting the event, will vary by what you're looking for, right? So when it's on the other side of this chasm of uncertainty, like a transaction, I think it's going to be hard to get there. Now, if you gather unique data sets and kind of build out that moat, there's a potential. And I think there's a couple of companies that are trying to aggregate some data like that and deliver it for different reasons. But yeah, I think it'll be a long time before everything's predicted. I do think that it'll continue to get better. I just don't know if there's going to be a hockey stick moment where we're going to go from this to that.
Gotcha.
Because it really relies on the data. So sorry, man. I said that really in a long-winded way.
No, I mean,
it's so much faster, man.
I'm actually loving it. So the audience knows. I mean, this is like the world Josh and I have been talking about a lot. Is just like the vision we have for ourselves, for our company, is how do we send the right thing to the right person at the right time through the right medium. Right. Yeah, because marketing's all about relevancy. If I can be more relevant to you, you'll pay attention. If I can get your attention, I can deliver a message. If I deliver a message, I can cause action.
Yep.
And so I need to somehow be able to deliver the right thing to the right person, and data can help me do that.
Yeah.
And so that's like, we talk about this stuff all the time. So super interesting to me.
So tell Brad. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, like, the thing you just highlighted, let's say email response rates or direct mail response rate or connectivity rates in phone calls. Those are predictable events, right? Those are definitely predictable events. We've actually even built models that are kind of in the prototypes for doing this types of things. So totally off the record. If you want to talk about that later, happy to do so.
Yes.
Because like those
that's a golden nugget, ladies and gentlemen. No.
Yeah, I mean, that's why we call the company likely.ai, not real estate something or other. Like, AI is like, we believe that there's a lot of events that surround a transaction, both prior, during, and after. And we want to be that real estate, artificial intelligence modeling partner. Like, we want to be able to help the industry get smarter, spending less money up front, be more efficient during, and follow up.
That's awesome. Yeah. So how do people try it out?
So you can go to likely.ai and you can kind of check out the different things we have. The site's a little old, but it works great. You can also go to app.likely.ai if you want to try getting what we call a database refresh for free. Drag and drop. We need address, city, state, and zip. Drop it in there. If you have first and last name, we can tell you if the person still lives there or not, kind of some other fun things.
Oh, cool.
That a lot of people forget to look at, and they're still marketing the wrong people that moved 4 years ago type of thing. It was happens a lot, it seems like. And just go through and say, hey, give me a free report. So you drag and drop your file, give them a free report, create a free account, and then you'll get a text usually within an hour when your database refresh is ready. You come back and you look at my nice report card.
That's sweet.
That's fantastic. We're going to include all those links in the show notes of this episode as well. Brad, any way that you want people to connect with you? LinkedIn, Instagram?
Yeah, please find me on LinkedIn. I'd love to have any conversations with MarTech vendors, agents, lenders, brokerages. I mean, we've worked with, the largest Keller Williams, expansion teams to Wells Fargo's to USAAs. I mean, everything from the individual agent all the way up to those, top 500. And we want to provide this intelligence to everybody. So please reach out to me on LinkedIn, or you can email more deals at likely.ai, and one of our teammates will route it over to me.
Awesome, Brad. Well, thanks for coming on, sharing everything you're doing over there with your business. Pretty exciting stuff. You can get all of those links that we mentioned at the show notes at staypaidpodcast.com. And while there, you can get all the videos for all of our episodes as well. If you're looking for ways to support the show, there's only two ways we ask. The first way, head on over to Apple Podcasts, drop a 5-star review, and leave a comment to let us know what you thought about this episode. Maybe pretty soon, Brad, you can build a model to predict who's going to go give us a review.
Yes.
So I can know when to beg for more. The best way to help out the show is to tell a friend and share this episode on your social media. If you want to get hold of me or Luke, you can email us at podcast@ReminderMedia.com and follow us on Instagram. We are at Stay Paid Podcast. For this episode of Stay Paid, I'm Joshua Stike.
Guys, and I'm Luke Acree. And the action item from this one, I kept thinking through the podcast because, one is I want you to go look at this. If you're not using this type of data, if you're not looking into using this to either look at your database or to do some type of farming list or something like that, I really think you're missing out on a key potential for you in your marketing. So go do that. But the thing I kept coming back to of like, what's the action item that you can literally take away from this and go, okay, I need to go look at this data and I need to go look at, can it make me more efficient in my marketing? But the main thing that this data should be driving me to do is it should be driving me to reach out to the people in my database to find out, are they looking? Do they need your help? Can you be of value to them? So use this podcast as a reminder to go, hey, who are the people on my list right now that I need to be reaching out to, checking in, offering value to, building the relationship, because it's a relationship game. And if you remember from our discussion in this podcast, we literally talked about there's two things you got to showcase. One is the relationship. The other is that you are the subject matter expert, that there's nobody that knows more about your business, your industry, your expertise than you. And so you need to reach out to the people in your database to make that happen. The difference between top producers and mediocre producers in every single industry is top producers take action. Take action on that today.